You might have a love-hate relationship with this car, and it's definitely sparked a lot of controversy. I think at least 1,000 people have said, well, the new Supra is just a BMW underneath. But the question I have for you today, is it really that deep? I'm Jessie, also known as What She Drives, and we're gonna dive deep into the MK5 Supra. To be honest, I never thought at some point in my life I'd be sat in a MK5 Supra telling you guys how much I actually do like it. I've always been a MK4 Supra fan, understandably, for so many reasons. One being obviously Fast and Furious, and I just feel like my generation really resonate with JDM cars, and we love Japanese cars and just the modifications on them. They're just funky, really cool pieces of art. And with the MK4 Supra being what they call a proper Japanese car, the MK5 is not all so bad. Yes, on the outside is a Japanese car, and they say under the hood is a BMW. But truthfully for me, if I'm a car brand that wants to collaborate with another car brand to create a sports car, BMW would be in my top 3. I feel like they didn't want it to match the MK4 so much, although you do find some parts on the car that do resonate with the previous model so much. However, I feel like that was a model in itself in an era, and this is a model in itself in a new era, and after 17 years, which is quite a lot of years, this matches this era more, if you know what I'm saying. Truthfully, I feel like a lot of people are upset because it ghosted us for 17 years, and when it made a return, it wasn't to the people's expectations of the classic JDM Japanese type car. It's actually just half Japanese, or in fact 30% Japanese and 70% German, and it's actually built in Austria. And that mix match comes with a whole new engine, not a 2JZ, but a B58 engine, which is still one of the best inline 6 engines out there. But they did change a lot of components on the car, and that can upset a lot of people. The buttons inside the car and many other things are literally replicas to BMW, and it doesn't feel too far off of the interior from my BMW M2. Undeniably, the exterior does look like a Japanese car, although it does also look like what it's based on, which is the BMW Z4 with that slightly longer bonnet. However, this is much more aggressive, and it being the limited edition, you get this matte storm grey paint finish, which definitely elevates it from about a 7 out of 10 to about a 9 out of 10. The rear is definitely my favourite part of this car for many reasons, but starting with the ducktail boot, which you just can't hate on and genuinely look really great on cars with that little flick at the end, suits a sports car so much, which you can also find on a 911 Carrera RS from the 1970s. The rear diffuser is outstanding. It's just the perfect size to fit the chunkiness of the rear of this car, and that's what I love about it the most. It's how chunky it is at the back. It just suits the car as a whole, considering the arches are quite preceding as well. So it's definitely a 10 out of 10 at the back. And another cool thing, I guess, is this fog light here, which looks like the rear rain lights that you find on F1 cars. It's just a little touch, and anyone who watches F1 driving behind the Supra might think the same. But all in all, there's a lot of curves and a lot of character going on in the back, which I love, especially on a sports car. You don't want it to look too plain, and I even like the droopiness here that just goes off the rear lights, that just complements the curve of the car. I think they've designed the rear very well. But annoyingly, you can't access your boot by pressing a button there. You have to go to your key and hold that down and obviously open your boot that way, or you can also open it from the inside of your car by just pressing this button here on your door. Now on the front of the car, you do notice that there's these dummy vents, which were actually put there on purpose by Toyota themselves, and the point of that was for tuning companies to later take them out and use it as downforce for the car, or even for brake cooling, which you can also find here on the bonnet. And if you take out that one and that one, then that just improves the downforce right there. And as I've just gone to turn on the indicators, this is probably the nicest indicator I've seen in my life. I mean, it starts from the top left corner, runs all the way down the side and the bottom, to the bottom right hand corner, and it just gives it that full coverage on such a huge headlight. And when you open the bonnet, no, you don't get what you think you're going to get, which is a 2JZ engine which you find on the Mark IV Supra. You get a B58 engine. Which, like I said, the silver lining is that the B58 engine is still one of the best inline-six engines. And it's a 3-litre inline-six twin-scroll turbocharged engine producing 335 horsepower. And speaking of BMW being under the hood, well, you quite literally find it written under the hood, just like there, and even just there. And as for the interior, yes, it's a 2-seater, and this is a limited edition, meaning the interior is red, and there's leathers pretty much everywhere. As I've mentioned, you've got the BMW replicas here, no different, even this, and your infotainment system, I mean, it's very much BMW. The steering wheel also is BMW, and your door handles, exactly like BMW's, and these buttons here, BMW, your paddle shifters, BMW. So it's pretty much sitting in a BMW. But nonetheless, I guess the perks of a BMW interior is the strong and stern material used. Like, everything is in place in this car, and it's just perfect, to be honest. I know, again, it's a Toyota, but like, the material used is just top notch. And you get a head-up display, which is always handy, and it's helpful for me in London because the speed changes like every 5 seconds on every road. Now, the best part is when I flick it into sport mode, I can actually configure it in 4 different ways, including damping, steering, engine, and transmission. Now, steering, engine, and transmission, we're quite used to being able to configure that in most cars, but damping, I've never seen before, and it's not actually that common. However, I've heard that when you put it in sport mode, it actually makes the car launch better, which is pretty cool. And when I drive it, it is very responsive. I do love it. But all in all, it's comfy. It's very comfy on the inside, actually. It's not usually what you expect in a sports car. So yeah, overall, I have no problem with the collaboration between BMW and Toyota, although I do wish it had more power in this car to at least match the BMW Z4, which is what it's based on. However, overall, the interior, exterior, the car as a whole, I'd rate it about a 7.5 out of 10. It's a solid car, and at the end of the day, you are driving a Supra, and that's pretty cool in itself. But anyways, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya!